Welcome to the only daily podcast focusing on compliance news of the day. Each morning, start your day with a cup of coffee and Tom Fox, the voice of compliance, to hear about 4 of the top compliance, corruption, or leadership stories you will need to start your day. The Daily Compliance News is a production of the Compliance Podcast Network.
First, a word from our sponsor. The Daily Compliance News for September 22, 2023, the Lawyers in Trouble edition. And we begin with that story from Reuters as the Illinois Supreme Court released orders disciplining 26 lawyers, including the former CEO of the state's largest electric utility, the utility's former lobbyist, and a founder of Chicago law firm. The Illinois Supreme Court said it had suspended the license of 2 individuals on an interim basis following their conviction on federal charges from the Commonwealth Edison case. So, Illinois Supreme Court cracks down. In a dispiriting story, 3M gets slammed again, this time for export control sanctions, as reported by the Wall Street Journal, Risk and Compliance Journal, David Smagala reporting that 3M has agreed to pay more than $9.6 million to settle a probe by the Treasury Department of sales to an Iranian-controlled entity, or Iranian entity rather, controlled by the country's law enforcement forces. OFAC said that between 2016 and 2018, a 3M subsidiary sold goods to a sanctioned Iranian entity. 3M came forward and cooperated, and the company said it had fired several employees. I bet it did. Next up, from the Global Arbitration Review, a first-time contributor to the Daily Compliance News, the United Kingdom Supreme Court has held that bribery claims bought by Mozambique in a $2 billion lawsuit against an Abu Dhabi shipbuilder do not fall within the scope of a Swiss law arbitration agreement. So it's going to allow the bribery suit to proceed. This is around the tuna boat fraud cases, a huge scandal several years ago where Mozambique got basically fleeced, or the country did. And our final story comes to us from the New York Times that Sam Bankman-Fried and his allies have blasted the law firm of Sullivan and Cromwell for its tangled relationship with a crypto exchange. Just before the collapse of FTX, one of the outside lawyers from the law firm emailed a colleague at another firm insisting that the cryptocurrency exchange's finances were stable and that rumors of FTX's demise were silliness. So, wonder how that played out. So, Sullivan and Cromwell may have a lot to answer for this, but right now, SBF and his allies are pointing towards the law firm and no doubt anticipating a defensive counsel argument, not like Donald Trump's, but actually a real one. The Daily Compliance News is a production of the Compliance Podcast Network and a proud member of C-Suite Radio. Thanks so much for listening. I hope you'll join me again tomorrow.